Okay, today what we're going to be talking about is having PC boards made online. In this case, I used PCBWAY to make these little circuit boards that I designed. And we're going to cover the costs, the time, that kind of stuff. Basically, I wanted to use it with my KD2 project. This is the frame for one of the KDs. So I wanted the circuit board to be able to fit down inside underneath where the servos go, like that. And wanted to neaten up all the wiring so there wouldn't be a bunch of wires hanging around. Now I'm going to populate the top of the board. I just happen to have a bunch of these little pins around. Populate the top of the board with a bunch of those little pins, then I remove this black plastic piece. It just helps hold everything nice and straight. And since my KD2 project is running on one of the Micro Maestro's Pololu controllers, the 6-channel ones, you can order them with or without the little pins already installed. Now, way back when I ordered this Pololu one, it's sitting right here in the middle, I ordered it with the pins attached. So that means I needed to remove all those pins. Of course, I used it in my earlier versions of the KD2, which I was using the normal 180-degree super cheap servos. And now I'm moving up to the 270-degree Metal Gear servos. My point is, having to remove the pins can be very difficult to do without damaging the board. In fact, I don't actually know whether I've damaged this board or not yet because I haven't powered this up yet because it isn't installed. But we're going to find out probably in the next video. So I wanted to design a board to clean up all the wiring, hold the voltage regulators in place, hold the Polo 2 in place, give me a place where I could just plug my servos directly onto the board, keep everything nice and neat. So the most important thing was going to be the placement of all of the pins and the location of all the objects. So in this case, this board is going to fit down in here like that. And I needed to make sure it was going to clear where the battery I decided to use for my particular project was going to sit, which is there. And the board still needed to be free, so I knew it wasn't binding on the battery or anything like that. I needed to make sure I left enough room for the servos to sit in there and still be able to plug my servos in. So that's basically what went on there. But before I get to the step of designing the PC board, which I wanted to do for free, so I used an online free service, and we're going to talk about that in a second. The first thing I did was actually design one for my 3D printer using CAD, and I actually laid out a place where I could run wires to connect all the pins, and I actually soldered one of these up and tested it, and it worked. But the main purpose of this board was to locate exactly, if there's enough light to show that. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. Let me get a light. This is kind of important. There we go. So you can see the holes when I shine this around there. Like that. So the location of all those holes and those pins for everything to mate up was very important. So that's why I did this step first before I sent off for circuit boards that may or may not fit or work, or pins needed to be moved or something like that. So once I knew it was right, then I went ahead and I tried laying up the circuit boards using a couple of different free programs, but the ones that I ended up using in the end was called Easy EDA. Now hang on, I'm going to be moving now. And I'm going to try and get you as close as I can to this screen here. So up here it says easyeda.com. I'm using the standard version. This is the browser version. I didn't want to download anything onto my computer other than the final Gerber files. And normally when you're going to design a printed circuit board, the first thing you do is you have to use their schematic program. You lay out the whole schematic. And what that gives it is all the information for where the traces are going to connect and all that kind of stuff. And then it can use an automated system to decide where the traces go and blah, 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 blah. Well, I didn't want to do any of that. This was just connecting a bunch of pin headers together. So it was going to be super simple to put the traces in. And because I needed all those headers located in very exact positions, I didn't want to start with a schematic. I wanted to go right into the printed circuit board. And yeah, this should open up the one. And we'll see if it keeps opening. There it is. So this is the basic board that we're looking at. Let me grab one. Here's this board, and there it is in the program. So when you start a printed circuit board in the way that I did, not starting from the schematic, the first thing it wants you to define is the size. So I put in my how big it was this way and how big it was that way, and put that in there, and then selected one corner of the whole project, which would be this purple corner here, as my home, my target. So everything that I would measure would be from that corner. Like if I went up to there, how far was that, and then how far in was that. So I had a point of reference for measuring everything, so that I knew when I got the board it would be the same as that 3D printed one that I originally tested. The red traces are what's on the top of the board. The blue traces are what's on the bottom. I tended to make my power supply rails thicker and my ground rails thicker, and then things that are just signals, like controlling the servos, a little bit thinner. Anyway, it's a fairly simple program. It was suggested to me by YouTube's Rick 100. He'd used it before and said it was a good one, a good free one. It was simple to use. I talked to him a couple times while I was laying this out on a few questions on what I was doing, and he replied back, and it was very helpful and got things going right away. In fact, it took less than a day to lay this up. Now, from when I sent these Gerber files off, well, before I say that, I guess it's across the top here of things, and you can go to fabrication, and it'll have a one-touch button that you can go to. And this Easy EDA is already affiliated with PCB.com that I've used before for the 3D printed parts, where I wanted to try their resin printed and I wanted to try their aluminum 3D printing. So this time we're trying their PCBWAY's circuit board system. So by using the fabrication one, I went in there, and being a new user for the circuit board side of the PCBWAY stuff, I applied all of the credits that they give you for being a new user, and in the end, with shipping, this ended up costing me $4.33 for 5 of these circuit boards. Now, the system wants to always default to about a $24 shipping charge, and if you look closely while you're going through the steps of ordering this and before you finally pay, you'll find on the left-hand side down by the bottom there are shipping options. And I went in there and I wanted to find out what their slowest, cheapest one, how long it would take and what it would cost. So I used what they called Global Standard. And the shipping was like $1.72 instead of being closer to $24 to get them right away. So from the day that I sent them the Gerber files to the day that I received these, which is today, that took 14 days. So that's actually fairly quick for only spending $4.33 to get 5 custom-made double-sided circuit boards with silk screening. Just thought I'd turn you all on if you want to do it. Now there's a boatload of people that are doing the inexpensive circuit boards, and ever since I've ordered these one sets, I've been seeing more and more ads for others, so I'm guessing my information or my browser tracking history has tied me in with all these other ones, but there's a boatload of them up there. Some of them that are saying your first order of circuit boards are 1 cent, and of course they have the minimum shipping thing too, but again, if you know where to click, you can reduce that shipping charge. And another one just popped up today where the first order of circuit boards was $1. So there's a bunch of them up there if you're doing something for the first time. So if I was to do a new project next or something, I'll probably try one of the other services just so I can get in at their super low price of doing all that. So anyway, I thought I'd just let you know that the PCBWAY circuit board service, they do an incredible job. I mean, this board is really, let me turn it this way so you can read more of the text. So here I put in the Robothut KD270A. The 270 is referring to the 270 degree rotation servo. And like I say, I designed it for a pin header so I could just plug everything in and solder it on. I even spaced the LED eyes on the front of my project right there so that they could have been a pin header, but if they were a pin header, I won't be able to get the servos in because the pin header would be in the way, I think. Maybe, because it could be that I could have used a pin header there, because with a long enough wire on there, a person could install the servos first, then there's a gap between the two servos, and then just slide this board possibly up under the servos, and the pin header is going to sit between the two of them. I haven't actually tried putting a servo in there yet. Let's see. Why don't we just try one? What the heck, right? I don't know if I can hold all this on camera and try it. Let's try it with the board out of the way. Let's put the servo in. There it is, in. Hell, let's put the other one in too. Why not, right? Where is the other one? There we go. I'm running the cables across the top in this case. There it is. And now let's see if the board can in fact slip in with the servos there, because I really don't know if it can or not. It feels tight. Feels like it's maybe hitting on that voltage regulator. I'm going to force it. There we go. Force it by that, and then of course in the end there's these wedges which will plug in there. Ooh, there we go. And I believe, is it signal? Signals are on the top, so this would plug in like that, and this one would plug in like that. Feels like I should have made those pins longer. I may have to pull those out and put longer ones in, because this one doesn't feel tight. This one felt nice and tight. So those will definitely go down in place when the lid goes on, and these rear servos are going even easier. There's nothing there to get in the way. Plug them in. The only thing I have to put in then is the power switch, the battery contacts. In this case I took a regular contact and just flattened it out, because all I needed was a piece of metal that was sticking out, and that's going to basically glue in right there. And then the spring loaded one for the negative side, cut the spring short in my case for my battery, and it's going to glue in this side. And I'll have one ground wire that I'll can solder to any of the multiple ground connections that are in here. This whole piece here is ground. And that center piece there is ground, so I got lots of choices for ground. But there you have it. PCBWAY, very inexpensive, very high quality, and even on the slowest turnaround, which was with that shipping choice for, what did I say it was? It was called Global Standard. It was only $1.72 for that shipping. So I got the entire order for $4.33. So if you're into doing some custom circuit boards, give it a shot. Just make sure when you get ready to check out that you apply all the discounts. That's be up in the upper right corner of the thing. Say apply all discounts, and the shipping options, which are in the left bottom side of the page. Go down there and click on those, and if you're not in a hurry for your boards, if you've got 2 weeks to kill, go ahead and select the global standard. You can also select USPS. It was just a little bit more. It's like $1 more, and could have went that way. And I don't know that it's any different. It seems like it probably would leave China in the same package, and then it still gets delivered to my house by USPS in the end anyway, so I don't really know what the difference would be there. I may have to try that on one of the other ones if I ever have more boards made.